JR has just lost custody of John Ross III to Sue Ellen, who is shacked up with Dusty Farlow at the Southern Cross Ranch playset. I think that means he's on Plan D at the moment, which he alludes to in the pre-credits. Also last episode, Pam disappeared from her job, and it wasn't because she didn't feel like working, so she just drove around all day. Sue Ellen and the Farlows arrive back at San Angelo, victorious from the hearing. Dusty is happy, but it came at great sacrifice to his manhood.
Mr. Farlow was rendered impotent.
Don't say that word!
At South Fork, JR is already hatching his plan, which we hear through an expository phone call to his daddy Jock. Apparently, JR is going to use the Ewing fortune to buy up all the oil on the market and choke off the Farlows. Then they'll have no choice but to kick Sue Ellen off the ranch. Larry Hagman's I Miss You, Daddy is a real gut punch in context.
I miss you, Daddy.
At the store, Bobby is grilling everyone about Pam's disappearance. The detective implies that Pam might have slipped out for a nooner with some guy, to which Bobby understandably bristles. But in fairness, she did have that dalliance with a sentient bread sandwich last season. The cop openly says that the Ewings will get special treatment from the police.
Under the circumstances, you could speed things up a little.
We are handling this as a special case, Mr. Ewing, because of your family's position.
Well, at least he's honest. Jackie and Liz confirm that Pamela was at work earlier, though, and she seemed lucid before she disappeared. At lunch, Rebecca and Cliff get a life update from Katherine Wentworth, who is having a very normal drink and not one that has blood in it. She's been doing spot news coverage for a local TV station in the Northeast. Rebecca fondly remembers child Katherine being a daredevil and having a thirst for danger. That tracks. Katherine turns to talk to Cliff, which gives Rebecca a chance to gush about him and casually drop that she's made him head of Tool and Die. Katherine has a sudden change of mood upon hearing that. Sudden change of mood, go on. Katherine plays it off like she's not jealous of Cliff getting to run the company, but Cliff sees through it. Look, you and I both know who Cliff is, and we both know he's going to take this pooch home when the bar closes at 2 a.m. But Katherine doesn't know that. And doing some random remote newscast doesn't exactly prepare you for being the president of a company. Plus, she's a girl, so, that's hard to overcome. At Ewing Oil, Operation F the Farlows is in full swing, and JR pulls Sly and Phyllis into it. It really is hard to stay mad at JR when you see the admiration that Sly has for him. Elsewhere at lunch, Afton scolds Mitch for not taking the money that Dr. Waring offered him last episode for saving his wife. Mitch says that his moral code won't allow it. Nor does he want that cushy internship position that Waring is offering. He does offer to consider it, though. At this point, I think even the most moral relativist of us has to say that Mitch's moral code is dumb with a capital J. And then, in the most memorable scene of the episode, and maybe even the season, Bobby gets a call from someone at the store and races over to find Pamela on the roof staring into the middle distance. He storms up the steps, stops for a Dr. Pepper, and makes it to the roof just in time for Pamela to shriek and try to jump. Instead, he catches her and pulls her back. So I guess she wasn't okay this morning. Bobby tells Ellie and Lucy that Pam will have to be committed to an institution for her own good. This inspires Ellie to call up Rebecca Wentworth so they can catch up. And now that I think about it, that has to be an awkward friendship. Rebecca, the woman who Digger Barnes married after his life and mental health spiraled out of control because Jock swindled him out of a fortune and stole Ellie from him. And then Digger wound up being so useless and abusive that Rebecca had an affair with equally gruff and disagreeable ranch hand Hutch McKinney, producing a daughter who then married Miss Ellie's youngest son. I wonder what they'll have to talk about. Also, a thing you almost never see anymore? They say bye and hang up. Dusty is still down in the dumps over having his impotency revealed to the world, but Clayton reminds him that the doctors say his recovery is going well and he just needs to continue doing his exercises. I mean, whatever he's doing is clearly working because goddamn. Come on, man, my wife watches this channel. Sue Ellen pulls Dusty into the pool for some recreational smooching, and it's hard for him to be salty about that. Although, apparently not hard enough. JR's plan is in motion and he makes a deal with one of the other oil barons to dry up Clayton Farlow's oil supply. He also stops by the bank and tells them to gather all the other banks, like the Avengers, because he wants a $200 million loan. We meet Dr. Conrad, who will be Pam's psychiatrist for the next few episodes. She doesn't bring nearly the creepy vibe that Jeff Cooper did as Dr. Elby. In fact, She seems nice and helpful right off the bat. We finally get to the root of Pamela's problem, which largely has to do with being abandoned by her mother as a baby. So my criticism of the arc was premature last time, because that's a perfectly good character backstory. The therapy is fine, it's a good arc. Unfortunately, though, it's about to expose the two biggest gaps in Victoria Principal's acting. Trying to approximate a mental breakdown, and her version of crying where she actually winds up panting like a dog. Hey, the sooner we get her that kid, the sooner Principal can go back to acting like a human being. During a walk in the park, Ellie reassures Rebecca that they're getting Pam the finest help in the nation, and also tells her that it's not her fault. Well, okay, she stops short of saying that, and instead tells her that Pam will be able to come to terms with whatever happened in the past. That's actually much better advice, given that we already established that Rebecca's abandonment did play a role in Pam's condition.
Why did she do that? Leave a little baby. What did I do to deserve that?
Speaking of playing a role in Pam's condition, Bobby fumes at Dr. Conrad that Pam has everything in the world that she could want. After all, she has him.
She knows that I need her. She knows that I'd do anything in the world to make her happy, and she knows that I love her. Why isn't that enough?
This scene is necessary to establish a path for the story between Conrad and Pam, but she's spending a lot of time speculating about a patient with someone who is not the patient. I know HIPAA's not a thing for like 4 more years, but dummy up a little bit. Leave some therapy for Pam. The bottom line is, though, that Pam can either commit herself for treatment, or someone else can do it for her. Bobby brings Pam home and tries to convince her, but Pam is blocking. At Dr. Waring's, Mitch learns about the magical world of altruistic plastic surgery, which actually is a cool thing in the real world. Smile Train has done over 2 million surgeries on people with cleft palates, and many of them are small children. I feel like I need one of the Green brothers to talk about this. Dr. Waring's pitch is pretty convincing, with Mitch considering that plastic surgery actually does have some benefit to the world and is not just for soap opera actors. Rebecca delivers the news about Pamela to Katherine and Cliff, forcing Cliff to ponder, "Oh no, I have a sister with a mental illness. But at least I have stable Katherine to lean on." Speaking of extremely stable sisters, Bobby receives a photo of Kristin Shepherd holding a baby, and a note that tells him that someone will contact him with more information. Right on cue, he gets a call from Canadian creep Art Hindle, whose mustache indicates he's probably not on the up and up. Hindle plays Jeff Faraday, another in a seemingly endless line of Faradays on the show. We don't get a whole lot out of him now, but he does promise more information later. Meanwhile, at Ewing Oil, JR tells his daddy that the noose is tightening around the Farlows. JR has leveraged everything to buy up all the oil on the market. And what good is a series of refineries with no oil to refine? Don't worry about the oil market crashing. The price of oil is always going to go up. No one at the Southern Cross is concerned about that right now. Instead, Sue Ellen finds Dusty watching his old rodeo reels from when he was a virile, fully functioning cowboy. Apparently, this is a nightly ritual with him, which is not at all concerning, given the show's portrayal of other fixations. Finally, Bobby drops Pam off with Dr. Conrad, who assures him she's in good hands. And we're out. Pam's rooftop breakdown is the Dallas equivalent to jumping the shark in a leather jacket. But once you get past that, the rest of the episode does a fine job talking about her mental illness. Refreshingly, no one makes fun of her or takes pity on her or blames her for her own condition. The writers make sure to keep JR occupied for the episode so he can't gloat or twist the knife. Everyone else just rallies around her. Unfortunately, the therapy, which could have been a nice little character-rounding arc for Pamela, eventually takes a backseat to the more salacious baby-buying storyline. But if it bleeds, it leads, I guess. This episode also sows the seeds for the departure of a couple of love interests, Mitch Cooper and Dusty Farlow. It's probably not a surprise that Mitch winds up taking that job, and that will eventually pull him away from Lucy in a way that is, true to form, not particularly interesting. But we're also seeing allusions to Dusty's desire to get back on the horse, so to speak. And that's something that's going to have implications for Sue Ellen. But maybe more significantly for the show, it's going to have implications for Clayton Farlow. I also really like this mini-game side quest for JR. The strong-arm tactic and relying on the legal system just aren't his style. The squeeze play is the home for this guy. And the little foreshadowing from Bob the Oil Man, who says he plans on clearing out of town before Clayton finds out, like Clint Eastwood is riding into town, is a great touch.
I've seen Clayton Farlow when he's angry.
That really helps build toward the JR versus Clayton showdown.